have main engine start. 3, 2, 1. We have SRB ignition and we have liftoff. Liftoff of mission 41D, the first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Over the last quarter century, Space Shuttle Discovery, possibly the most historic vehicle in NASA's shuttle fleet, has been the most flown spacecraft in human history. NASA is preparing for the final scheduled flight of Discovery, a trip to the International Space Station that marks the anniversary of a decade of continuous human presence aboard the orbiting outpost. This historic flight will include the delivery of the last room to be attached to the U.S. segment of the complex, as well as the first humanoid robot in space. When Discovery launches on NASA's 35th mission to the ISS, the STS-133 crew of 6 astronauts will begin an 11-day mission to deliver one of the shuttle's last loads of spare parts for the orbiting outpost. This flight will deliver the Express Logistics Carrier 4, the Leonardo Permanent Multi-Purpose Module full of supplies for the ISS, and also Robonaut 2, a novel component that will reside in the Destiny Laboratory. During 2 scheduled spacewalks, the shuttle crew will work through a variety of tasks, including some resulting from the replacement of a failed pump on the ISS.
We're all experienced, we've all flown in space before, and 3 of us, Mike, Nicole, and Tim, have done long-duration flights on space stations, so they're intimately familiar with space station.
Retired Air Force Colonel Steve Lindsay is the commander of Discovery's crew of 6 astronauts. A veteran of 4 space flights, he last commanded STS-121, also flown aboard Discovery. The pilot of Discovery is Air Force Colonel Eric Bowe. He will be at the controls as Discovery undocks from the station for its farewell lap around the complex. He first flew on orbit as the pilot of STS-126 in 2008. Air Force Colonel Alvin Drew is Mission Specialist 1. He first rode uphill on STS-118 in 2007. He will perform 2 spacewalks during STS-133. Mission Specialist 2 is Army Colonel Tim Kopra. A former ISS resident, he lived and worked on the station for 2 months during Expedition 20. He will conduct 2 spacewalks on this shuttle flight. Dr. Mike Barrett, Mission Specialist 3, is a NASA flight surgeon who became an astronaut. This is his 2nd voyage to the ISS, after flying aboard the station for over 6 months during Expeditions 19 and 20. Mission Specialist 4 is Nicole Stott, launching for the 2nd time on Discovery. He served as an ISS flight engineer for 3 months during Expeditions 20 and 21.
The key objectives for STS-133 are primarily positioning the station for the future years to come, both inside and outside. We have supplies that we're bringing for the crew to live and work continuously for the next few years inside the station, as well as some large spares or replacement units that we'll put on the outside of the station.
The first of 2 components that Discovery's crew will attach to the station is the ELC-4 pallet, the Express Logistics Carrier 4. One item stored on the ELC is a spare ammonia radiator. The radiator helps reject heat from all the electrical boxes on the outside of the ISS.
Eric and Al will be back on the shuttle working the shuttle robotic arm. And with the station arm, Tim and I are going to pull the ELC out of the payload bay and then we'll position it so that the shuttle robotic arm can grab it.
Then Copra and Stott will reposition the station arm, grapple the ELC again, and attach the pallet to the S3 truss on the station's nadir side.
In our payload bay, we have a PMM, which stands for Permanent Multi-Purpose Module. It's essentially an MPLM, which is a pressurized cargo carrier that we've been using on space station for several years to haul logistics up and down.
Copra and Barrett will grapple the Leonardo PMM, the last component that will be attached to the station's U.S. segment, and they will install it on the nadir side of Node 1 Unity.
Not only will it be full of supplies for the space station, it will also serve in the future as a closet for space station for stowage, which is something that they always need up on space station.
Also flying inside the PMM is a virtual ISS crew member named Robonaut 2. R2 is the first dexterous humanoid robot in space and the first U.S.-built robot at the space station. R2 will be deployed on a fixed pedestal inside the Destiny lab. The Robonaut project is designed to ultimately function as the equivalent of a spacewalking astronaut, accomplishing tasks that could be unsafe for a human.
Robonaut is very impressive to me. As a medical doctor, I was able to look at it, shake hands with it. One of the first things I noted was that the control actuators in the fingers are very, very alike to the tendons in a human hand. And they can vary the sensitivity in the grip on this, just like a human would do when it's doing different tasks.
We're looking for those areas where we can kind of build on the strengths of the machine and also the strengths of the humans, and look for that synergy where we can get the most out of to achieve the mission.
During STS-133, Drew and Copra will open the hatch for 2 scheduled spacewalks.
The objective of those spacewalks is really to get lots of tasks completed so that once the shuttle retires, we're in the best possible situation for maintaining the International Space Station.
For the spacewalks themselves, we're doing several tasks of outfitting the space station, doing some what we call cats and dogs cleanup work, taking care of some insulation issues, working on some various components that need to be doing.
On EVA-1, Drew and Copra are scheduled to install a 10-foot-long cable between the Quest airlock and the Destiny lab. They will also relocate the station's failed ammonia coolant pump module to ESP-2, the external stowage platform 2.
Our first spacewalk that we're going to do is going to be cleaning up from the last spacewalk that our space station crew members did. Several months ago, we had an ammonia pump for our cooling system fail on board the space station, and we need to go and replace it. So we will start right off with going out to pick up that failed pump and putting it back in the storage location for the replacement pump.
On EVA-2, after the Leonardo PMM has been installed to station, Drew and Copra are scheduled to perform tasks carried over from STS-131. They will install a camera light on and remove an insulation blanket from the special-purpose dexterous manipulator, the Dexter robot hand. They will also remove the lightweight adapter plate assembly from the Columbus lab for the return home.
The space business is a team sport. I think all of us feel pretty humbled to be part of any space shuttle or space station mission because there's so much work that is done to make this happen, and all of us are very, very thankful for their hard work.
When I think about Discovery, I think about my time at KSC, and it was the first vehicle I got to work on there. It means so much because I think it's more than just a job to people in the space program. What I've seen on the shuttle and the station programs is the people working it, it's a heart and soul thing.
Everybody is just maintaining an incredibly high, if not higher, standard of professionalism to keep this program running. So we have nothing but admiration and gratitude for what these people do.
6 astronauts, with the help of Space Shuttle Discovery on its final flight, are completing work to the International Space Station, designed to put the station into the best configuration possible for operation beyond the shuttle era. Mission Commander Steve Lindsay, a retired Air Force colonel, has flown on 4 previous space flights. He was the pilot on missions STS-87 in 1997 and STS-95 in 1998. In 2001, STS-104 was his first mission as commander, and he also commanded the STS-121 return to flight mission in 2006. Lindsay was serving as NASA's chief astronaut when he was assigned to STS-133. While growing up in the Los Angeles suburb of Temple City, California, Lindsay developed a passion for engineering and for flying.
I pretty much decided early into high school that I kind of wanted to be an engineer. But the other thing I really wanted to do is I wanted to be a pilot. And I got to thinking about what can I do that will allow me to pursue both of those things.
He got his answer while visiting the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. In 1982, Lindsay earned a bachelor's degree from the Academy in Engineering Sciences. He went on to become a fighter pilot and flight instructor. He then earned a master's in aeronautical engineering from the Air Force Institute of Technology and became an experimental test pilot.
So I got through that process, been a test pilot for several years, and realized, and kind of wasn't shooting this way, but kind of realized that, well, you know, if I were to apply to the astronaut program, an astronaut's job is very similar to this. You know, you combine flying and technology and science and engineering, all of those things together.
Lindsay applied to the Astronaut Corps and was selected by NASA in March 1995. The pilot on the crew is Air Force Colonel Eric Bowe, who is making his second spaceflight. In 2008, Bowe was the pilot on the STS-126 mission that delivered supplies and amenities to the International Space Station needed to sustain a 6-person crew. Bowe says some of his most vivid memories from that flight are of gazing down at the Earth.
You can really see that the Earth is alive, and also you kind of get an appreciation for how big the Earth is, and at the same time how small we are as compared to the rest of the universe as you're orbiting the planet.
Bowe, who grew up in Chamblee, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, says watching TV coverage of astronauts walk on the moon instilled a desire in him to become an astronaut.
I thought about, you know, what a neat endeavor that humans that participate actually walk on something that you look at oftentimes in the night sky. And so that was kind of set the bid of something, you know, maybe if I was lucky enough and had the opportunity, I'd like to be an astronaut.
After high school, Bowe attended the Air Force Academy, where he earned a bachelor's in aeronautical engineering. He spent several years as a fighter pilot and instructor before completing work for a master's in electrical engineering at Georgia Tech. Bowe was serving as a test pilot at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida when NASA selected him in July 2000. Air Force Colonel Alvin Drew is one of the 2 spacewalkers on the crew. STS-133 is his second trip to space. During the STS-118 mission to the space station in 2007, he witnessed a rare sight from a space shuttle window.
At that moment, a satellite passed between me and the Earth. And I don't think very many astronauts get a chance to see any other body besides maybe the Hubble or the space station, but just some other random satellite. And that was when my thought was, we're not in Kansas anymore.
In the 1st grade, the Washington, D.C. native remembers being faced with a bit of a dilemma after watching a launch of an Apollo mission at school.
I went home, you know, very troubled, asked my dad, you know, what should I do? Should I be an astronaut or should I be a pilot? He goes, you can do both those things. All these astronauts have been pilots.
After high school, Drew attended the Air Force Academy, graduating with bachelor's degrees in physics and astronautical engineering. He went on to fly helicopter combat missions in Panama, the Persian Gulf, and Iraq as a member of the Air Force Special Operations Command. Later, after obtaining a rating in jet aircraft, Drew became a test pilot. Drew also has master's degrees in aerospace science from Embry-Riddle University and strategic studies in political science from the United States Air Force Air University. He was selected by NASA in July 2000. U.S. Army Colonel Tim Copra is the other spacewalker on the crew. The native of Austin, Texas, is making his first trip back to the International Space Station since spending time on board as a member of the Expedition 20 crew in 2009.
I think that one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is seeing the cupola, observing the planet and space, and also looking at these new modules that we've added, because it's even bigger than the last time we were there.
Like most other kids who watched Apollo astronauts walk on the moon, Copra developed a fascination with space. After high school, he attended the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree. It was during his time at West Point that Copra realized that his dream of becoming an astronaut wasn't so far-fetched.
Because there are several people who had graduated from West Point, and even some of my instructors eventually became astronauts. And it went from this unrealistic childhood goal to something that was clearly tangible and possible if you work really hard.
Commissioned as a second lieutenant, Copra became an Army aviator. He flew helicopters in Germany and in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. He went on to earn a Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering at Georgia Tech and completed training at the Navy Test Pilot School. Copra, who also holds a Master's in Strategic Studies from the U.S. Army War College, came to NASA's Johnson Space Center as a Vehicle Test Integration Engineer in 1998. He was selected as an astronaut in July 2000. Mission Specialist Dr. Mike Barrett is the second of 3 former space station crew members on this mission. In 2009, Barrett spent about 199 days on board ISS with Expeditions 19 and 20.
As a space medical specialist, my flight experience was like a dream come true. I was able to kind of personally look at my own adaptation process, both physiologic, what the body does in response to zero gravity, and behavioral, how you learn to operate and perform well in zero gravity. And then I saw that in various other people as well.
Barrett grew up in Camas, Washington, a farming community that sits along the Columbia River near Vancouver. It was an area that helped him develop a number of interests.
I wanted to be a marine biologist at one time, an astronomer, an archaeologist, and when I went to undergrad at the University of Washington, my focus was marine zoology. And probably late during my undergrad years, I started getting interested in space. And the more I went through medical school, I realized that space is a field that puts so many things together that I love.
After finishing medical school at Northwestern University, Barrett stayed in Chicago for residencies at Northwestern and at Lakeside Veterans Administration Hospital. He then completed the Aerospace Medicine program at Wright State University near Dayton, Ohio. Barrett came to the Johnson Space Center in 1991 as a project physician for Space Station Freedom. He became a NASA flight surgeon the following year and was selected as an astronaut in July 2000. Nicole Stott is the 3rd member of Discovery's crew who has completed a long-duration space mission. From August to November of 2009, Stott was an ISS flight engineer for the Expeditions 20 and 21 crews. Stott was born in Albany, New York, but grew up in Clearwater, Florida, in a family that loved aviation.
You know, my dad had a real passion for flying that he shared with us as a family. And he built a couple airplanes, small aerobatic airplanes that started in our garage and then would move to the airport. It got in my blood there. And that's kind of what, you know, really helped me choose what I wanted to do.
After high school, Stott earned her pilot's license by completing a program at St. Petersburg College. She later earned a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering from Embry-Riddle University, then applied for a job at NASA. But the agency was in a hiring freeze at that time, so Stott took a job at Pratt & Whitney as a structural design engineer. About a year later, NASA began hiring again, and Stott landed a job as an operations engineer at the Kennedy Space Center's Orbiter Processing Facility.
And had just a fantastic experience there. I mean, you are right there, you walk down into the hangar and there's an orbiter above you, and the opportunity to get in the crew module or, you know, work inside the payload bay and working every aspect of processing from landing to launch.
In 1992, Stott earned a master's degree in engineering management at the University of Central Florida. Then in 1998, she came to the Johnson Space Center to work as a flight simulation engineer on the Shuttle training aircraft. NASA selected Stott as an astronaut in July 2000.
The Space Shuttle Discovery, named for past ships of exploration, was delivered from its Palmdale, California shuttle factory to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in November 1983. Since then, Discovery has lived up to the historic legacy of its name. It flew to space more times than any other spacecraft. In orbit, it released a telescope to probe the universe and a spacecraft to explore the sun. It carried laboratories to study weightlessness and instruments to study the Earth and its atmosphere. Early in its career, Discovery became the first spacecraft to bring a satellite back to Earth.
All right. And liftoff of Discovery, making shuttle history and building our future in space.
But perhaps even more compelling than the discoveries it enabled in space is the spirit this vehicle has helped humanity discover on Earth. Its missions include flights that showcased how one-time Cold War adversaries can become long-term friends for exploration. Its flights further expanded space travel beyond boundaries of age, gender, and race, counting among those who flew on it the oldest astronaut, the first female shuttle pilot, and the first African-American spacewalker. But above all, Discovery twice proved that America had the will and the determination to persevere and succeed in the face of devastating grief and tragedy, returning America to space after the Challenger and the Columbia accidents. Discovery is the most accomplished space shuttle ever, set to complete 39 flights in all, amounting to over 5,000 trips around the Earth and more than 300 days in space. Discovery's long history in space began in August 1984.
3, 2, 1. We have SRB ignition and we have liftoff. Liftoff of mission 41D, the first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
When it launched from the Kennedy Space Center on STS-133, Discovery held more than 41,000 pounds of cargo in its payload bay, a shuttle record at the time. The primary cargo consisted of 3 communications satellites. Among them was LESAT, the first large communications satellite specifically designed to be deployed by a space shuttle. The 6-person crew deployed all 3 satellites and tested an experimental solar array wing to prove technology for possible use on future space stations. On its second mission, STS-51A, in November 1984, Discovery headed to orbit to deploy 2 more satellites and retrieve 2 others. The spectacular retrievals would be accomplished by astronauts using jetpacks called the Man Maneuvering Units, or MMUs. The retrieval of the first satellite, Palapa B2, took some improvisation. Spacewalker Joe Allen first captured the satellite with a device called a Stinger and guided it to Discovery's payload bay. After experiencing initial problems, the crew teamed up to manually berth it in the payload bay itself.
All right, we got her. Now, do you want me to move across? Did you get yours too, Joe? Big latch yours? Mine's latch.
The mission marked the final time the MMUs were used. In 1985, Discovery became the only shuttle to fly 4 missions in the same year. One of those, STS-51D, included 2 more satellite deploys. Utah Senator Jake Garn was a mission specialist on the crew, becoming the first sitting member of Congress to fly in space. During landing, Discovery suffered a blown front tire and brake damage. The incident prompted NASA to move future shuttle landings to Edwards Air Force Base in California until nose-wheel steering and brake improvements were implemented some 5 years later. The tragic loss of the shuttle Challenger and its 7 crew members stunned the world in January 1986. In its aftermath, NASA turned to Discovery to return Americans to space with a myriad of safety improvements. With the world watching, Discovery launched on September 29, 1988.
And liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Roger roll, Discovery.
During the 4-day STS-26 return to flight mission, Discovery's crew deployed a NASA tracking and data relay satellite, identical to the one lost aboard Challenger. A host of experiments were performed before Discovery made a triumphant return to Earth.
Main gear touchdown.
Discovery, welcome back. A great ending to the new beginning.
In 1990, Discovery flew a pair of missions to extend humankind's vision into the cosmos. In April, Discovery carried the Hubble Space Telescope to orbit on STS-31, releasing it at the highest altitude flown by a shuttle to that date, almost 380 miles. Hubble's 20 years of observing the universe have yielded breathtaking images and a better understanding of our place in the cosmos. Discovery would be called upon to visit and upgrade the telescope on 2 subsequent missions, STS-82 in 1997 and STS-133 in 1999. In October 1990, Discovery launched the European Space Agency-built Ulysses spacecraft. The robotic probe would make unprecedented observations of the Sun's polar regions for the next 18 years. When Discovery was built in the early 1980s, few would have envisioned its crews or destinations, including a program that began on its 18th flight, STS-60, in February 1994. The mission was the first cooperative human spaceflight between NASA and the Russian Federal Space Agency of the Shuttle Mir program. Discovery's crew included Russian cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev, and the commander of the historic mission would go on to become NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden. Almost a year to the day after Krikalev's flight, Discovery would make history again as the international partnership progressed. On mission STS-63, Discovery's 6-person crew included cosmonaut Vladimir Titov, mission commander Jim Weatherby, and first-ever female shuttle pilot Eileen Collins guided Discovery to within 40 feet of the Russian Mir space station to certify procedures that would be used later for the first docking of a shuttle to a space station.
We are bringing our nations closer together. The next time we approach, we will shake your hand, and together we will lead our world into the next millennium.
It was the first rendezvous of a space shuttle with Mir. The mission also saw astronaut Bernard Harris become the first African American to walk in space.
Going uphill, all looks good for an auto. There's a roll. Units to Discovery, roll program. Roger, roll Discovery.
Discovery would not visit Mir again until June 1998 on mission STS-91. On that flight, more than 3 years after its initial rendezvous, Discovery would make its first docking to the complex, but would be the last shuttle to visit Mir.
Congratulations on an outstanding rendezvous and historical 9th docking with Mir. It was beautiful to watch from down here. You have a very light touch. We really enjoyed the whole thing. Congratulations.
As Discovery undocked, the Shuttle Mir program, which had seen 9 shuttle missions docked to the complex, ended, setting the stage for the start of the assembly of the International Space Station.
And liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
The October 1998 flight of Discovery on STS-95 was primarily a mission to conduct life science experiments. But all eyes were on 77-year-old astronaut and U.S. Senator John Glenn, who in 1962 became the first American to orbit the Earth. Glenn was a member of the crew and a test subject for a host of experiments that studied aging. Glenn's spaceflight on STS-95 made him the oldest person to fly in space.
Hello, Houston. This is PS2, and they let me get sprung out of the middeck for a little while. We're just going by Hawaii, and that is absolutely gorgeous. The best part is do a trite old statement, 0G, and I feel fine.
2 years later, on October 11th, 2000, a magnificent night launch by Discovery, accented by a full moon, marked the historic 100th flight of the Space Shuttle program. STS-92 was a 12-day mission to the fledgling International Space Station. Discovery's crew completed 4 spacewalks to install the Z-1 truss and the pressurized mating adapter 3, or PMA-3. Z-1 was eventually used as a temporary location for the station's first set of solar arrays. PMA-3 also would provide an available port for future dockings. In February 2003, the world again mourned as the shuttle Columbia and her 7 crew members were lost during re-entry. America resolved to continue the shuttle program and again improve the safety of flight. And NASA again turned to Discovery to return the nation to space on mission STS-114, commanded by Eileen Collins.
Discovery Launch Director.
Discovery here, go ahead.
Okay, Eileen, our long wait may be over. And so on behalf of the many millions of people who believe so deeply in what we do, good luck, Godspeed, and have a little fun up there.
Well, thanks to you, to the launch team, and to everybody in the shuttle program. The crew is go for launch.
And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey.
The STS-114 mission to the International Space Station included new procedures to ensure the shuttle heat shield would be in good condition for the trip home. Among them, a first-of-its-kind backflip as Discovery approached the station to enable the station crew to capture high-resolution imagery of the shuttle's heat shield. The crew conducted 3 spacewalks. On one of those EVAs, astronaut Steve Robinson made the first repair to the exterior of a spacecraft in flight, removing 2 gap fillers which were protruding in between some of Discovery's thermal tiles. Experts were concerned that the protruding material could have affected heat flow over the thermal shield during the return home. NASA's final mission of 2006 was expected to be one of its most challenging. Discovery's STS-116 flight to the International Space Station called for the installation of the P5 truss segment and a major overhaul of the station's electrical power system. Problems arose while retracting one of the station's solar arrays, which was to be relocated on a future flight. During the retraction, the array snagged. During 2 spacewalks, astronauts Bob Kerbeam, Sonny Williams, and Christer Fugelsang assisted in the retraction by hand using a combination of techniques. The troubleshooting worked, and the solar array was folded. During the work, Kerbeam became the first person to complete 4 spacewalks during a single mission. In October 2007, Discovery headed back to the space station. STS-120 marked the first time that 2 female commanders were in space together. Discovery Commander Pam Melroy and Station Commander Peggy Whitson, the first woman to command the space station. The mission included installation of the Harmony module on the station and relocation of the truss and solar array that had been folded on STS-116. The 105-foot-long solar array tore while unfurling. After studying the situation, Mission Control devised a solution which called for the crew to make cufflink-type devices out of wire straps to mend and stabilize the array. Scott Parazinski and Doug Wheelock installed the devices, and the array was deployed.
We've got deployed discretes, 2 deployed discretes.
Hey! All right. Beautiful. Great news. Beautiful. What an accomplishment.
Nice teamwork.
The 15-day mission was Discovery's longest. On STS-124 in May 2008, Discovery headed back to the station to deliver the centerpiece of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency's experiment laboratory, Kibo, which means hope in Japanese. STS-124 was the second of 3 shuttle flights to deliver elements of Kibo, the station's largest laboratory. JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide and NASA astronaut Karen Nyberg installed the module and also became the first to float into it after its hatch was opened. In March 2009, Discovery traveled to the station on mission STS-119. The flight installed the final set of solar arrays for the complex, bringing it to full power capability. When its flights are completed, 180 people will have flown aboard Discovery. The fleet leader will have flown almost 150 million miles.
The journeys of discovery enabled humanity to see the farthest reaches of the universe and to peer deep inside the indomitable human spirit.
Hey man, pull it. We're clear.
Z-axis is complete. Z-axis is good?
Yep. That's good calling their readings. That's right.
It'll change when it gets to visual.
Yeah, it will. So, okay, you see those? 30-26. Got some readings. Third leg road is 3617. And one minus 2.36. Minus 2.47. 155.
All right, so we're within a 1. So.
Yeah, and this one's real good.
This one's real good.
It should be like. Got that ball?
Got that ball. Yeah, and that ball.
To make sure that these are clear of the platforms hanging down, and they always are.
Pull that plug on that fan on there too, will you? I got a lot of room. How about you? All the time. You can't cut it mud.
Touchdown number 2.
You don't mean that.
1 inch slow stop. Stop.
You don't mean that sure when it's wings in it. So now you know she's going to get a cat or something. Unless they soft fly that.
We learned a lot from you.
still too close to that phone. It could be setting a charge just as we speak. Oh, this is the phone? Is that
No.
this stuff? Yeah.
I understand this point. This is all ready to go. Right. We could probably add filters with it.
Remember those big bags and little shaded?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay too. And then the card has Velcro on the back.
There's actually 4 little pieces here already assembled. So we taped it so it would not fall off. And the procedures, they took pictures, and they will say just be careful because once you start taking off the tape, then it will flake. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably more than you need, but that's perfect. True, but I do the exact same thing though. I just do that washer and isolate that, pop it open, do this 15 minutes, pull it out.
Right.
I believe it's part of the plan to get rid of my
Which ones?
Why don't we get rid of those cages?
We'll get that fixed.
You can tell it's space hardware. Wow.
This is apparently a new type of battery. Yeah, I was thinking the keel is that way, and grab the pictures, that's inches, and there's no more on these. Big guy. Okay, yeah. I think in the NBL, our tanks, you see this is the black side here. Yeah. This bolt, the other side, we typically paint it right. That's the main difference. It wouldn't be easy, but I think we'll probably do. You're on, man. The festival on there. It's the identifier. Okay. You have to be there for launch. They don't move.
You had a scenario where you had to remove this, then
Yes.
you would just leave it. If you don't
Oh,
put it
just
back,
leave it.
Yeah, I think you just leave it. Well observed. Angle's kind of important.
You get some transitions on this. It goes right through that little hole.
And so you're going to grind it down, and then you're going to put RTV right, orange RTV right there.
Through the middle of it.
I don't know how it got some.
I think it'd be pretty tough to see.
Yeah, you'll see it. That'd be fine.
Unlimited over here.
Get the big board out of the way. More towards him. We've got a lot of patch on it.
Those are RTV'd in now? Is that what it is? You put RTV on it?
Well, actually, we bond them in sticking an inch higher up. We used to bond them flush. The bond, before we used to pull test them to 8 ounces to make sure they were in there. Now we pull test them to 5 pounds in multiple locations. So they them. In our testing, we actually had to pull them to 70 pounds to get them to fail. But it's actually, yeah, it's the brie tile with the toughy coating. This coating is only about the thickness of an eggshell. This coating actually impregnates a couple 100 thousandths into the tile. So we can actually machine 100 thousandths off of that and it will side stage. So it actually really soaks into the tile.
Yeah.
We should have new one bonded. Maybe next week or the week after.
You're saying this little, you're saying setting this thing up? Good as answered any. This must be that metal stuff that they're talking about.
Substructure. Any problems focusing on this? Sort of black area.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yeah, if you're just on the black, it won't focus. If you get some of the white in there.
Right. Again, your autofocus is looking for contrast.
Yeah.
Okay, so
always to your back. When you snap hook, you want to turn up the tight location. Depending on where you're coming off. So there's a shock absorber. There's another one. That's the part that's closest to you. All right. Anything, if you're in 6 foot of an unprotected edge,
So we just bring out a bag at a time and look at it? Or?
I guess you
Gotta go green.
green now. I thought. I mean, ours at the MBL are exactly like this.
Yeah.
Remember, you can't dry fire it or.
Probably want to take the Taylor Bay with bottom.
That's right.
This guy, need that.
What can I do? The one you guys can go side here.
You can do it from the other.
Solid. Articulating push button socket.
Gotcha. But we don't have, the only time you'd use that is for the 96 volt. Is that it?
You had something that you wanted to be on the bridge well.
You just show the box.
Okay, like the top is sturdy.
When they open the box up after the flight, it actually had come out, it was hanging out by itself. So
What would you use to?
they modified the strap nab and they'll block it.
Because we'll be already gone already. So we'll pull that out and then we'll inspect the seal. Just took out.
That's the socket. That's not the clamp, though.
It's out there, and then
So you have that bridge rail in place. You have a furlough. You have to pass the furlough to hold the airlock.
There you go. I think you got to turn it into that.
yeah, into that detent. So since this is the open detent, this is the closed detent
Locks on
here.
and everything.
Yeah.
It has the same kind of socket.
Right.
Ah, there
See
we
the
go.
indicator here.
Okay.
It's closed and open. And there's a soft dock. But when it's soft dock, when you bring it in and it hits that capture bar, it kicks this thing out of the way.
There goes the soft dock.
Like a BRT.
Okay.
Don't you guys pulling it down.
Close it now.
Like I said,
I know, it's really cool.
Nice. Yeah. So that's the best part. That way you know which side it's
Well, you know whether you're returning, green for return, red for going, only different.
It's just like a boat. The valves would be
qualcosa che non fa, lo so, aspetta, un attimo. Se si mai io ti vengo dietro, ti dico solo se sì o no. Dovrebbe essere così. Sì, così va bene. Così. Un attimo. Si vede. C'è la aspetta che deve no, non la pizzare perché esatto, corretto. No, ma controlla quello che ha. Ah, allora. No, i grillini, sì. C'è solo a modificare queste qua. Ok, qua va bene. Il ciucciotto qua va bene. Va bene tutto, questi sono da togliere via. Al contrario, bravo. E questo qua che deve essere di sotto a posto, ma. Aspetta che te lo vedo. Sì, a posto. Sì, a posto. Va bene quella, vero Gino? Sì, questo sì. Questo qua va bene, il leader della messa così. Quindi dall'altra parte c'è questo qua. From where the last blankets guardando la destra. Questo è fatto. Dovrebbe essere dall'altra parte. Da come mi fa vedere però si direbbe di no. Però metterli al contrario, mi sai che. Deve attaccare, però quello di sotto c'è il ciuccio, penso quello là di sotto.
Flat. Yeah, that's good.
How long you want to look at it? Good. Where's you good? Just push it up. The glue is coming off on two.
Kevin, what's your tech number? Safety's got a light.
Standing this year, his head's
send Terry up. You going down? Yeah.
You're talking about straps in the face? Tom, yeah, y'all are being cognizant of the face as you pitch it forward and the web straps not in contact. Being very careful. So we have to put our hands on the shoulders now with our hands. So I'm just walking on it. Yeah. I'm going to hold you to see this.
But we'll accommodate good score. Sub-zero.
might be happy about that. Bottoms out. Topside, right? Right there.
name was?
Camillos.
Camillos. You get that?
Yes, I did.
All right. There you go.
Thank you very much.
And this is yours.
Yeah.